Dear viewers, welcome to the analysis of YOLENO TV. I'd like to appreciate you so much for supporting this channel and making this channel grow by simply subscribing and giving us a like. Now, there's a conversation that is currently going on, and there are a lot of people who are talking about this negatively. Some people are talking about it positively. But the conversation is whether the emissaries that, according to the dailies, were sent to Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. As to whether these emissaries were sent to Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta and whether Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta declined or agreed to meet them. And this meeting, according to the allegations, is that it could have taken place while Tiangi was still under custody of the DCI headquarters for grilling. So I've been trying to do some research on this, trying to establish whether this was actually true. But it happens that if perhaps this meeting took place between RUTO'S men and Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta's men, or with Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, then it could have been simply to come up with a negotiated plan on how probably there can be a ceasefire and on the matters demonstrations or matters mass action. Because earlier on, William Samoei Ruto thought that this was a joke until Raila Amolo Odinga issued a strict warning telling William Samoei Ruto that you only had until Wednesday midnight to comply with our demands. And we've seen this, the government downplay Raila Amolo Odinga's request. We've seen what Rigathi Gachagua has been saying, especially on the social media or in churches or whenever they have meetings. We've seen how Rigathi Gachagua has been reacting. We've seen how Aaron Cheruiyot has been reacting, Kimani Ichung'wah, and we've seen a host of other politicians from the Kenya Kwanza, how they have been reacting to it. And we also saw how Mudavadi reacted. So these reactions are only meaning that these leaders are still taking the request by Raila Amolo Odinga for a ride. They're not taking it seriously, that whatever demands Raila Amolo Odinga issued, all these things were just, according to them, ni vitu vidogo. So I think soon after Raila Amolo Odinga made that speech and told William Samoei that you only have until Wednesday midnight, and that's when it occurred to them that this was actually true. And perhaps that explains why you've seen, like in the Kisumu State Lodge, there was some barricades which were erected on the roads. I think some blockage so that people cannot pass, and the police were there. And you've seen videos about some roads to State House being blocked. So that means this is William Samoei Ruto trying to respond to the threats that the opposition are already piling on them, the pressure that the opposition is already piling. So if at all this did not mean anything, like Rigathi Gachagua has always been saying, then awange erect hizi ma barricades on the road, ma blockades on the road, awange fanya ile kitu inaonekana pale Kisumu, ama hiki kitu inaonekana hapa area za wapi, hapa area za Nairobi, awangefanya on the way to State House. So this already means that the Kenya Kwanza government is not taking the threat lightly. So the discussion here is as to whether these people who say that Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta received emissaries, whether these people are just propagandists, or they're actually expressing the true picture. Mind you, the people in the bloggers in the Kenya Kwanza have resorted to issuing too much propaganda in a bid to counter this pressure from the Azimio One Kenya Alliance. So the propagandists are so many within the Kenya Kwanza government. So I derive two reasons as to why these emissaries could have been sent to Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, and as to whether these emissaries were received. Because according to the sources that we have, it's that Uhuru rejected these emissaries and then they ended up meeting the cousin of Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. So I think that was in a move to try to strike a deal between, so now Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta's cousin was trying to play like, a Kofi Annan here, trying to be a mediator between the William Ruto's faction and the Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta's faction. So the cousin here was tried to be like, a mediator or a go between the two factions. So that's why I find that two reasons. One of the reasons is a pressure or probably a ceasefire to this. Probably trying to come up with a negotiated arrangement on what ought to be done. Mind you, William Samoei Ruto does not want to be seen as if he's giving in to the pressure of Raila Amolo Odinga. So he'd rather even reach Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta or reach the cousin of Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta so as to communicate his mind, so that through Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta the message will reach Raila Amolo Odinga. So this is what we see is happening currently, because William Ruto feels that if he gives in to or try to reach Raila Amolo Odinga, then people will say this is some kind of handshake. Whereas Raila Amolo Odinga has also termed it that I don't want any kind of handshake with this with the Ruto. What I want is Ruto to comply. But first of all, Ruto must open up this server so that we can see the truth. That kama anaogopa kuopen server, sasa anaogopea nini kama anaona alishindwa? That is some of the remark that that Raila has been putting across, that kama anaogopa kama anaogopa kufungua server, basi alishindaje? So those are not my words, but the words of Raila Amolo Odinga. So that's why I'm saying the pressure and the probably a need for a ceasefire could be the reasons why those emissaries were sent to Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. So what has it that Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta rejected the delegation, and I think that's why they headed to the cousin of Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, tried to come up with a common ground that maybe they could agree on. So ladies and gentlemen, can you share what your opinions are? Do you think those emissaries were sent? And if they were sent, what could be the reasons why they were sent? And if those reasons are there, then what do you think would have been the reason why they had to go to Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta's cousin? Kindly share your opinions are. And once again, I'd like to urge you to stay safe and stay blessed until we catch up again in our next analysis.